It's time for Expert Alert, your chance to ask questions and get answers from experts.
Well, very good morning. Thank you for joining us on all of our WLOX streaming platforms for this week's Expert Alert. Again, if you're joining us on Facebook Live right here on our page, on the WLOX page, if you have any questions for our expert this morning, be sure to put them here in the comments. And as I see them, I will ask them. Our expert this morning is Jody Entrekin from Entrekin Insurance. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chet. How about yourself?
I'm well, thanks. So we're going to talk about Amway. No, I'm kidding. We're going to talk about insurance. So let's start off with today's focus is going to be on auto insurance.
Okay.
And so let's talk about what auto insurance is. And I feel like at some point in this conversation you're going to say it's not a maintenance plan.
That is correct.
Because I feel like that's kind of where we've been before with the insurance conversation. So tell us what auto insurance is and why someone would need it, aside from the fact that it's the law.
Okay. So let's just get the maintenance plan deal
Right.
out of the way. When it comes to insurance, I cannot stress enough. Too many individuals are asking, why is my insurance going up? Well, it's because everyone tries to treat it like a maintenance plan, and it's not a maintenance plan. This is an indemnity plan, which means it's to make you whole in the event of something that has happened. You know, they're not going to repair your car just because it's old. Something has to happen. So what is auto insurance? You know, it's just like any other insurance policy. It's a transfer of risk. You know, so you're paying someone money, you know, your insurance carrier, you know, for an insurance policy, which is a contract. That might be a 6-month term. It might be a 12-month long term. When you pay them that money, you know, whether it be in full or monthly, you are transferring the risk. And then they are guaranteeing that if you get into an accident, they will pay for liability protections as well as property protections. Now, there are several levels of auto insurance which you can purchase, but in layman's very, very basic terms, auto insurance is just like any other insurance policy. It is a transfer of risk to protect you, you know, in your investment in the event of a loss. Because not many people just have thousands and thousands of dollars laying around, you know, so we pay a little bit at a time to mitigate those risks.
And for auto insurance, it protects your liability. That would include anybody or anything that you hit as well.
Yes. You know, so when I talk about insurance, you know, again, I think everyone who knows me, especially on this segment now, you know, this is strictly for education. This is what we want to do. We want to educate the masses, right? So ladies and gentlemen that are out there listening today, just remember, I don't care what the insurance policy is. Anytime you hear the word liability, remember 3 words, okay? 3 words. The other guy. That is who that's protecting you for, okay? It's going to pay them. It's not going to pay you, you know, and that encompasses quite a few things, you know, which I'm sure we'll be getting into.
So I mentioned earlier that aside from the fact having it is good, aside from the fact that it's legal. What is the legal ramification with auto insurance?
Oh, there's a bunch of them, you know. So let's talk about legal ramifications for auto insurance. So in Mississippi, you know, there is a law. That law is you must, not may, must carry at least liability limits. The liability limits, and most people know it as 25, 50, 25. What that means is 25,000 liability, 50,000, okay, liability for the claim, and then 25,000 for property. So what does that mean, right? Let's break that down. The first number, $25,000. That is per person, okay, per claim. So the max that they will pay, so you're driving down the road, you hit someone, you have liability coverage, okay? That person gets injured. Your policy will pay up to $25,000. Now, they're not just going to go out there and stroke them a check. Hey, here's 25 grand. Have a great day. Thanks for coming, right? It has to be legit damages, but they're going to pay up to $25,000. Those damages, you know, if you're hurt, think about this. How much does a Band-Aid cost at a local hospital? A Band-Aid.
They're expensive.
That comes out of your liability protection, okay? Someone gets hurt, they're carted off in the back of Pafford now, who's most commonly throughout the, you know, South Mississippi. Pafford picks you up, takes you to the emergency room. Who's going to pay that bill? Someone's got to pay it, right? That comes out of your liability protection. You get to the emergency room, who's going to pay that bill? That also comes out of your liability protection. Again, that is per person. The first number is for one person. The second number, $50,000, that's max per claim. So let's say you hit that same individual and there are two people in that vehicle, two passengers, a driver and a passenger, right? Driver gets hurt, passenger gets hurt, both of them get carted off in the back of an ambulance and they go to the emergency room. So $25,000 is able to be paid towards the driver, and then another $25,000 is able to be paid for that passenger. Okay, now let's say there's three. Once that policy pays out $50,000, you're done. Anything else, your responsibility, comes out of your pocket. Anything in excess of that $25,000 comes out of your pocket. And then that third number for liability, which is also $25,000, that's for property damage. This is where it gets scary. So what do I hear all the time from folks? Jody, my vehicle's not worth 25 grand. Well, what about that $100,000 vehicle that's driving down the road? Did you ever think about that? Or that guardrail that you just hit? Or the simple stop sign? Okay, someone has to pay for someone to come out there, replace that sign. Who's going to pay for it? All of that comes out of that. Or let's just say you fall asleep at the wheel. It happens. That's why it's called an accident, right? Or God forbid, you're doing something you're not supposed to do. You're drinking and driving. You hit a home. 25 grand is gone like that. That's what's scary and people don't think about it. But this is what we're here for. We want to tell them. We want to educate them. We want them to know this is what this is. And liability limits is the lowest form of coverage in Mississippi by law. And yes, that is a law. You must have it.
Well, and you may have a situation occur while you're driving, a medical situation. Absolutely. That you don't know. Blood sugar could drop and you don't know that you have a blood sugar problem or an issue, and you pass out. And you mentioned, fall asleep at the wheel or drinking and driving, and those essentially could be your fault or are going to be your fault. But, technically, you falling asleep at the wheel because you had like a blood sugar thing, that's also going to be your fault at the end of the day. But it's a medical condition you don't know anything about. You want to be protected from that as well because, like I said, that's one of those things that's out of your realm of control.
Yes, sir. It's all a risk factor. So as, responsible adults, what do we want to do? We want to protect our family, right? That's what we want to do. We want to protect our children, so it's cold outside. What do we give them? We give them a jacket, hat, and gloves because we want them to be protected, right? Well, that's something that we can afford. We can afford to go out there and pay for that jacket. We can afford to go out there and buy those hat and those gloves, but can we afford a $25,000 doctor bill like that? Most people cannot. And again, that's why we have, insurance and a protection for that.
Well, I was in an accident a number of years ago, and a person pulled out in front of me on 49. I was going south, and completely that individual even admitted it being their fault in the conversations or whatever. But that's beside the point. They didn't have insurance, and so my insurance company took care of me. Like I've never had a situation where that was the case. I did many years ago, and it wasn't as great as I would like for it to have been. This time, it was perfect. It happened exactly the way that I wanted it to happen. But when I ask that, I say that to say, what happens to those individuals that don't, aside from having to come out of pocket to pay for this, your damages and their damages and everyone's damages or whatever the case may be, what happens to that person if they don't have insurance?
Man, that's a great question. Now, when it comes to insurance, if you don't have it, there's all kinds of penalties which can be levied against you. Now, most people think of, or this is what I hear a lot. I just got a ticket or I just had an accident. Now I need to get insurance so I can take it to court, right? They want that because there's a fine involved. Now, you can be fined up to $1,000 for not having insurance. The courts can suspend your driver's license for up to a year for not having insurance. They can also force you to carry what's called an SR22. Man, what's an SR22? Most people's never even heard of that.
I have not either.
In layman's terms, here's what they mean. They don't trust you. Courts don't trust you. So now they're going to force your insurance carrier to report to the state every single month that you have valid insurance. So if you think you're paying a lot for insurance now, you get that levied against you. The insurance carrier, they're having to do more work because they're having to do something every month to prove that you are paying your bill and your insurance is valid. If not, it gets reported to the state. State's going to put a warrant out for your arrest. They're going to come out and arrest you, which again, in turn, is going to cost you more money. It doesn't pay to not follow the law. It just doesn't. So I'm really glad that you brought up your accident. Do you know why your insurance carrier paid for the damages to your vehicle when that person did not have it?
I don't, but I have a feeling you're going to tell me.
Absolutely. One of the worst things about the state of Mississippi is how many uninsured drivers we have on the road. It's more than 30%.
Wow.
More than 30% of vehicles.
Seems like a high number.
It is.
Yeah.
Laws need to be enforced. If laws are enforced heavier than they are right now, this could stop. You know, that's why auto insurance costs so much. You're driving down the road, you're doing what you're supposed to do as a responsible adult, you're paying for your insurance. This person hits you, they don't have insurance. So now your insurance company has to pay for you. They're responsible. But what are you going to get out of them? You can try suing them.
I got an apology.
You got an apology. An apology doesn't replace your vehicle. An apology doesn't pay for your medical bills. Okay, so liability is exactly what I mentioned earlier. Liability, it does not cover what is known as uninsured motorist and underinsured motorist coverage. So if you have, liability insurance and someone hits you and they do not have insurance, you get nothing. Because again, your liability, remember liability, 3 words, the other guy. Not for you, the other guy, not for you. So if you want to make sure you have protection for yourself, it's just like if you want to go buy a new car. Let's just say you want a Ford, and there's 2 Ford trucks sitting on the dealership parking lot, or a Chevy truck, or Dodge, or Toyota, whatever it is. They're the exact same color. If you look at them from the outside, and you're like, Chet, man, I really like that white truck right there. I love it. And you go look at this one, and it's $40,000, and the one who's right beside it, which is identical to it, you look at it, and it's $60,000, right? Why do they cost more? Why does this one cost more than this one? That VIN number tells them why, right? Chances are this one here has more bells and whistles. So if you want a vehicle with more bells and whistles, you have to pay a little bit more. Same thing with your insurance. So if you want to make sure that you have coverage and this person does not have insurance, you have to pay extra for uninsured motorists / underinsured motorists. If you want to make sure that your vehicle gets repaired and you are at fault, again, liability doesn't pay for you. Uninsured motorist is not going to pay for you. Now we need comprehensive and collision coverage, right? So collision coverage, what is that? Real simple, think about it, collision. The word describes itself. You collided with something, that's the trigger. Now you're going to have insurance coverage. So you hit someone, your liability is going to repair their vehicle. Your collision coverage would repair your vehicle. And again, those numbers are drastically important. Just like when you go purchase that new truck with the bells and whistles. 25, 50, 25 is the lowest amount of coverage in Mississippi. However, you can purchase more. I always recommend more because $25,000 in today's world does nothing. Goes that fast, and it's scary. So we want to make sure, that you have enough. So one of the questions people ask me all the time is, Jody, how much coverage do I need? Every single person is different. Every person. So I look at their risk factor. It's not just the value of your vehicle. Chet, it's what do you have to lose? That's what this is for. It's not just to protect your property, it's the risk factor, the ramifications of what can happen after that event happened. So you own your home. I want to make sure that there's enough coverage, so that something does happen, someone's not going to come in here and put a lien against your house. They're not going to take your assets. They're not going to garnish your wages. So when you look at, because insurance is a dirty word right now. Everybody hates insurance. When's the last time you woke up and said, man, I can't wait to talk to Jody, the insurance guy? It doesn't happen.
I don't think I've ever said that I can't wait to talk to my insurance agent.
That's right. No one does. But when you need them and it works the way it's supposed to, now you're happy, right? You're happy. It's a profession that we're in that nobody likes, but we need to educate you. And all we're asking is give us an opportunity to educate you, because when you see the price difference from $25,000 in coverage to $100,000 in coverage, it would shock you at how small of an amount the increase is. So people don't want to pay for insurance. Fine. That's one less coffee from a local coffee shop that week.
Yeah.
You know, if you just buy one less coffee just 1 week, 4 times a month, you have more than enough to pay for that increase.
Yeah, listen, if you have questions, if you're not really sure, if you want to know how much insurance you need, if you want to make sure that you're covered, you have to budget for this. The alternative is not great because you end up coming out of pocket a lot more than you would have paid if you just paid monthly.
Absolutely.
Or if you even paid for the 6-month time frame or for the year. So look, give Jody a call. His phone number is right there, 228-460-0574, entrekinins.com. Give him a call, meet up with him, and find out how much you could save by going through maybe a local insurance office than one of those larger national companies. Jody, thank you very much for being with us today.
You're welcome.
We'll be back here on the third Thursday of next month with Jody talking about more Entrekin Insurance and more insurance questions. Listen, next week, though, we are not going to be on Thursday because it's Christmas. So, and we also won't be live, but we will have Tillman services here on Tuesday, the 23rd. So we will see you with Expert Alert on Tuesday, the 23rd. Until then, have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you for joining us for Expert Alert. We'll feature more experts at the same time on Thursday in 2 weeks.